Good morning to everybody. How you doing? Hope all is well. Keep up the beautiful work. Be'ezrat Hashem, Yitbarach v'Yitromam. Today is a fast day, but we are hoping that there will not be any more fast days in Am Yisrael. We hope that Mashiach will come. We hope that the hostages will come home. The soldiers will come home. All of Am Yisrael will be in Yerushalayim Habnuya. Be'ezrat Hashem, Yitbarach v'Yitromam. We should have besorot tovot, yeshuot v'nehamot. Today is the fast of Gedaliah ben Achikam, and he was a great tzaddik. We fast because when a great tzaddik passes away, it's like the destruction of the Beit Hamikdash. Not only that, but his death was the beginning of a whole another sad portion of history, unfortunately. And he did not pass away today. He really passed away yesterday, the second day of Rosh Hashanah. But since you can't fast on Rosh Hashanah, our rabbis instituted the fast day today. It's not considered a pushed off fast because even though it happened yesterday and today is the fast day, if it would be a pushed off fast, then the mohel will not have to fast, the sandak will not have to fast, the father of a baby by a bris would not have to fast, but it's not halachically pushed off. The rabbis instituted the fast to be the Gimel Tishrei, which is today. And God bless everyone. I know somebody who was born on a fast day. His Brit Milah was on a fast day, and that could only be Tzom Gedalia and Yom Kippur, Be'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach. It's good for the thriftier type of people. The day of the birth, they don't have to bring ka'ak to shul, and the day of the bris, mafi ekel. But of course, we know you always have to make a seudah for a brit milah. As a matter of fact, we read it on the holiday. Where do we learn that you have to make a seudah for a brit milah? Because it says, Avraham vayas mishteh gadol biyom higamel et Yitzhak. The day, what is bihigamel? Higamel technically means weaning from nursing. When a child stops nursing, he gets to the age that's a little big, he made a ziyada. But our rabbis tell us, Bihigamel he gimal equals 8. He is 5, gimal is 3, and the 8th day mal that he made a milah. That's when he made the mishteh gadol. He made a huge seudah. So we learn from there that you have to make a seudah for a brit milah. So if someone has a milah today, a lot of people like the custom to make the milah min ha'arbit time. Then they have a whole hafle and ziyada in the shul, Bezrat Hashem Yitbarach. However, BTW, it's better always to make a brit milah earlier than it is later. There are some that have the custom to do it at the end of the day. Obviously, we can never do it in the noche. We can never do it in the night. We can only do it during the daytime. But we know zirizin magdimin lemitzvot. The halacha says the earlier in the day, the better it is. However, there are some that have the custom that they could do it in the afternoon. Some Egyptians have the custom. Some people from Sham have the custom. But if a person decides that's not really his custom and they want to do it, not recommended. So keep that in mind as well. Make the milah in the morning and make the hafla at night. But anyway, 90% of the people from Wisconsin, of course not us, they only come for the ekel and they don't come for the actual milah. But thank God in our community, they come for the actual milah. They want to pray at a most beautiful moment because that's the main part of the milah, obviously. However, believe it or not, now ask your local rabbi for specific halacha. But one time I was lucky to go ask Rabino Grande a question. Rabino Grande, Hamvadia, Allah Shalom. Believe it or not, and like I said, don't make a decision from this halacha. But believe it or not, sometimes if somebody has cousins that unfortunately aren't as learned as you, and they're not as yirat shamayim as you, and they unfortunately might drive on Shabbat Kodesh, which is a terrible, terrible sin. Obviously, it's making a fire on Shabbat. Even an electric car, obviously, is prohibited on Shabbat. So now let's say when it comes to family, people are very close no matter what. So if they hear there's a milah on Shabbat, they're all gonna come driving for the ziyada, for the hafle on Shabbat. Guess what? Believe it or not, and like I said, don't take a halacha from here, but there are times where Hamavadiyah himself would say, I remember because I was learning the subject in Milah, and thank you Hashem, it was a Friday afternoon. I went straight to Hamavadiyah's house while he was learning to go ask him the question. And the halacha is that on the surface, generally, that we push off a milah from Shabbat to Sunday. Believe it or not, if people are for sure going to be Michalel Shabbat. Of course, we don't know from such things. No one we know is going to drive to a Milan Shabbat. But sometimes Sephardic people that aren't taught properly from very far away, they might not keep Shabbat as good as they should. But when it comes to a milah, they're kissing the hand of the sandak. They're going to the rabbis, Eliyahu and Havi. So they want the spiritual part of it, but they got there in an illegal way. One time when I was in Wisconsin, I saw somebody drive to the Kotel on Shabbat. And when he got to the Kotel for Minha, this was pre-October 7th. Obviously, since then, all of Am Yisrael are doing what they're supposed to, and Hashem will bring the Mashiach. But I saw him get a aliyah. He kissed the Torah more times than the Dinya. He kissed the Kotel more times than the Dinya. And unfortunately, he got there in an illegal manner. Yes, there is the benefit of the doubt, but it's not an emergency to go pray Minha by the Kotel, whatever it is. God bless our people. So what do we do? So like we said, if they're 1,000,000% for sure going to drive on Shabbat to come to the Milah, the rabbi says to push off the Milah. But of course we know, even though there are 4 books to the Shulchan Aruch, there's a 5th one called Common Sense, where you have to think a step ahead, right? I think some people left that volume in the store and only have the 4 volumes, but we don't know from such things. But what does Rabino Grande tell us to do, even though that's the halacha? You tell the family on the family chat. There are 9 million chats just per family. Imagine being on the board or on the admin or of a shul. There's the breakfast chat, there's the lunch chat, there's the this chat, and you write on the chat that the baby might seem a little yellow. We're not sure when the milah is. Then we make the milah on Shabbat, but we tell them we're having the major breakfast on Sunday. This way, everyone feels that they're not insulted, etc. And you make the seudah on Sunday instead of Saturday. This way, you get the best of both worlds. But anyway, back to our subject. Today's fast was instituted on this day. What was so bad about the story of Gedaliah? Well, of course, any Jew passes away. We see a soldier, and we don't want to see any more this year. We're only going to see good things, Be'ezrat Hashem. We're going to have a blissful year for all of Am Yisrael. But every Jew is important. However, when Nebuchadnezzar, his cronies, destroyed, unfortunately, the first Beit HaMikdash, and they took all of the Jewish people out of Eretz Israel to bring them to Iraq etc. That's where the story of Purim evolved from. But long story short, when they took all the Jews out, they left a bunch of Jewish people in Eretz Israel. Believe it or not, the sand of Israel is beautiful, and you can make crazy crystal out of it. And there's also the blue dye of the chilazon, and only the Jews knew how to use those resources. So they left Jews there for commerce purposes. And who was in charge of all of them? Gedaliah ben Achikam. And unfortunately, there was a story, and believe it or not, some say it was a Jew who murdered Gedaliah. Unfortunately, there's something called a self-hating Jew. Unfortunately, not everyone was taught by parents how to be as good as all of you, Shema Yisrael, and somebody warned him that it's going to happen, but he said it can't be. He didn't want to accept the fact that it could be. Could it really be someone would be that bad? But guess what? Unfortunately, as they say, kabdeu v'hashdehu. Yes, you have to give people honor, but if there's a rumor that, God forbid, someone wants to do something and there's some clout where that's coming from, then unfortunately we do have to take into consideration that these things can happen, and that's why we have to be extra safe. Bezrat Hashem. If a president sees that the escalator broke and the teleprompter broke and the electric of the speakers went down, you know that there's something going on. Don't just think that it's a coincidence, and you have to practice caution, as they say. So today is the day that happened. It was the beginning of the end of another story in Am Yisrael, and because of that, unfortunately, we fast on this day. Of course, we mentioned about a few weeks ago regarding Rosh Hashanah that some people fasted this past Monday. And when they fasted this past Monday, our rabbis give a mashal. Rabino Grande tells us there was once a king that was coming to a town to punish the whole town because they weren't paying the taxes that they were supposed to pay. And as he's getting closer with his henchmen, his soldiers, to punish the town, a group of dignitaries came out of the city to go greet the king. And when he saw that they did that, he said, "You know what? I'm going to take a third of the taxes that they owe me off the bill." Now he's getting closer for the two-thirds. Baba, Shahada time. And he starts getting closer. And now a lot of people came out to greet him. And because they came out to greet him, he said, "You know what? We'll take another third off." So that's two-thirds off. And then once he came to the town, the entire town came to greet him, and he ended up erasing the entire debt. Well, unfortunately, it's possible that Am Yisrael has a debt. Unfortunately, a heavenly debt. So some people, the dignitaries, the people that are tzaddikim, they fast on Erev Rosh Hashanah, and that takes off a third of the sins for the people. Today, a lot of people fast, but not everyone. Many women do not fast today. So because of that, and older people, etc., it's a much lighter fast. However, it's more people going to take the hit for the team and to go pray to Hashem, to go to the king, and the king takes off another third of the sins. And then, of course, next week, 1 week from today, Yom Kippur, Bezrat Hashem. Hashem sees that everybody is fasting. Men are fasting, women are fasting, the elders are fasting, etc. And because everybody is fasting, Hashem takes off the third of the debt that Am Yisrael has to pay. We know today we have Minha with Sefer Torah. Many people put on tefillin. Recommended if you have Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam, which pair should you wear? Some people wear Shemusharabah, but recommended to wear Rashi Tefillin, because we make a beracha on Rashi Tefillin, because today we have a shortage of berachot. And because we have a shortage of berachot, we have to make 100 berachot every single day. So therefore, it is recommended to put on the Rashi Tefillin if you can. Regarding praying early, it's not recommended to pray early today. Havadya Lava Shalom did not like Minha Gedolah on a fast day. How come? He says the only reason why in the yeshivot they pray Minha Gedolah is because you're not allowed to eat lunch before you pray Minha. If you're having a lot of mizonot, if you're having bread, you're not allowed to eat before minha. That's every mitzvah we do. So since you're not supposed to, so in the yeshivot they pray minha gidolah and then they eat lunch. That's the reason why the schools, because it's only b'diavad to pray minha gidolah. You're supposed to pray minha kitana. That is more preferable according to halacha. So the rabbi said, since there's no lunch on a fast day, not to pray minha gedolah on a fast day, but you can pray minha kitana. But there is misunderstanding sometimes in certain synagogues far away in Never Never Land, and that is, what time does the obligation for Kohanim come when you pray Minha? We know really a Kohen is supposed to bless us every day. However, back then, there was no Sprite Zero, there was no Gatorade, there was no Heke Hint water. So, what did the people drink? They drank good old Cabernet Sauvignon. They drank wine for lunch. And now a Kohen that drinks wine, he's not allowed to do the services anymore. So he's not allowed to bless the people anymore. So that's why on a regular weekday, we do not have Kohanim in Minha. However, on a fast day when there's Mafi Shrab, there's no wine being drunken, then what do? We do have Kohanim, but because there are people that are not as learned as all of you, they make mistakes. They could say, I remember doing Kohanim, so they'll do Kohanim on a weekday as well. And therefore, we wait till the end of the day. This way, it reminds a person of Yom Kippur. We don't have Kohanim in Minha on Yom Kippur. We only have Kohanim in Ne'ilah, which is at the end of the day, L'Hayim Tovim Ul Shalom. So since we have Kohanim at the end of the day in Ne'ilah, on a fast day, we also have at the end of the day. What is considered the end of the day? There are some rabbis that say from Peleg HaMinha, that is half of Minha Kitana time, which is an hour and 15 minutes before sunset. However, Chacham Batya Alav Shalom says that's only if the synagogue was adamant about making Kohanim, etc., and somebody they made Kohanim Heker without knowing the real halacha, if they're persistent. But initially, the halacha tells us only a half hour before sunset should you make Kohanim on a fast day, because that's like Ne'ilah at the end of the day. But if someone prays today in the office and it's before a half hour, which it usually is, especially today, sunset is at 6:47. By the way, it's getting earlier. The fast today is over at 7:07, Bezrat Hashem, but that's reading it left to right, not right to left. This way you don't make a mistake. At 7:07, Hamadiyah holds 20 minutes after sunset. Some synagogues do a little more, each to their own. We follow our Chachamim. But some people want to say Hamadiyah only said that in Israel. And to that we say, not true. 20 minutes all over the globe after sunset is when the fast is over. That's because it's a regular fast that was instituted by the Chachamim. But regarding Kippur, which we will talk about, Bezrat Hashem Yitbarach, then we don't do 20 minutes after sunset. We don't even do 40 minutes after sunset, BTW, even though that's what we tell the people. Rabino Grande tells us to do Rabbeinu Tam when it comes to the fast of Yom Kippur, believe it or not. If someone can't handle it, then you could do 40 minutes after sunset. The women do 40 minutes after sunset, but the men who are strong should definitely wait until Rabbeinu Tam time on Yom Kippur. We know today we wash our hands regular. You could shower, you could brush your teeth. Shema Yisrael, just to be safe. Some people don't brush their teeth all year long. Shema Yisrael. When I was teaching in school in Wisconsin, and the kids are all crowding around me, I say, if you didn't brush your teeth, Baba, take 6 feet back. Social distancing. How you doing? Also, great chachamim are able to tell if the children washed yadayim or not. That was Rabino Grande for you. How Batya was able to tell, believe it or not, if somebody didn't wash yadayim. I remember many times if the kids were coming near him, the grandchildren, he would say, "You come here, you go wash yadayim first, and then come to me." Of course, we can't make a kid feel that he's ostracized for not knowing to make Netilat Yadayim. So we have to be loving and caring, just like Rabino Grande. We'll stop here for today. Hope everyone has the greatest day. We should have Besorot Tovot, Yeshuot V'Nehamot. Before we get to the actual halachot and another class of the additions to the Amidah, just when you do pray, try to make a little the prayer a little louder, the additions, because this way you remember that you said it. We say Hamelech Hakadosh out loud, Zochrenu L'Hayim out loud, Hamelech HaMishpah, because if you don't remember Hamelech Hakadosh, if you said it or not, or Hamelech HaMishpah, you have to go back, and therefore you should make like a mental note that you did say it, because when in doubt over here, you do repeat, so therefore you should be extra careful. I hope everyone has the greatest day. We should have Besorot Tobot, Yeshuot V'Nehamot, easy fast, meaningful fast for those fasting, and Be'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach, we hope your fasting will be as a sacrifice to Hashem, and He'll forgive Am Yisrael and bring us the ultimate redemption. We started Tafshin Pei Vav already, 5786. Pei Vav stands for Podeh Umatzil. He will redeem us and save us all from this galut. Have the greatest day. Take care. All the best. Bye.